Here we go. Today is a brand new day. I refuse to limit my life by any past experience. I was born to be happy, to be abundantly supplied with every good thing, to have fun in living, to grow, and to consciously align the divine power within me with the divine power around me. I boldly claim my birthright. Today is the best day ever. It's a perfect setup for a talk about the sequence of the creative order. Last week we talked about the absolute, what it is, whether we call it God or Spirit or Buddha or Allah or love or life. Whatever we call it, it is far bigger than we can name in a single word. And so it's important to know that, because when we try to limit it, we're also limiting our use of it. And if we look around, everything really is pretty orderly in creation. There's order in the cosmos. There's order in the macro. There's order in the micro. There's order in nature, in the seasons. Before we even named them as seasons, there was order there. So we know that whatever this process is, it's orderly. It has some steps. And we have this ongoing conversation, it seems, about the necessity of us in that order. And as I understand it, and as I experience it, whatever this amazingness is, needs us as a channel of that orderly process. Because there's this infinite field of possibility, and we now know that in quantum physics. There was a time we didn't know that. We were just experiencing it, and we didn't know how it works. And now we're really beginning to get our arms around the science of it all, which is, for me, that's pretty exciting, that we actually, science and religion have been at odds. And now what we're finding is they're saying very much the same thing. And that's how the whole phrase religious science came to be, because Ernest Holmes' vision was literally that science and religion would walk hand in hand. And instead of being in opposition to one another, they support one another. And the more we learn, the more we see that that actually is what has always been happening. So how does that apply to us in everyday life? We are that in form. We are created out of it, by it, to be it. So everything that it is has residence in each of its containers, if you will. Okay? And so the same power, the same mind that brought everything into form is in you. And so when we talk about prayer treatment, and when we talk about speaking our word, we're talking quite literally that our word is its word. In the Bible, it bears out, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Well, it still is God. It's not a was, it still is. Now that's different than language. And it's important to understand that. We're talking word with a capital W. We're not talking about language. Because language oftentimes isn't really articulating what we believe on the inside. It's articulating oftentimes what we want to believe, what we're working on believing, but we're not there yet. And it's important to recognize that where we're creating from is that word, is that belief. What do we believe? What do we hold so precious, so clear, so deep that we don't even question it? That's the place where we're creating from. Now, when I personally finally grasped that, it scared the bejabbers out of me, because I knew that what I believed deep down was not what I wanted. And a lot of it wasn't pretty. I believed things about people and about places and about life that weren't true, but it's what I believed. And that creates that energy. So we know if we take our teaching symbol, we have the seed, which is the consciousness. And we have the soil, which is the law. And then we have the body, which is effect. And so our consciousness, those beliefs, those deeply held thoughts that go unquestioned, that is what we're putting into the law. And here's the thing about the law. It doesn't care. It is, when I say the law doesn't care, I mean it cares nothing. It is mechanical. There is nothing in the law that is emotional, that questions, that filters. It is simply a mechanical, automatic, unfailing yes. Whatever we put in it, it says yes. The responsibility comes at the level of consciousness. And all too often, we still want to anthropomorphize the law as having some personality that's going to filter and protect us from our own thoughts and our own beliefs. And that simply is not how it works. The other piece where we fool ourselves is in this place of effect. We live in a world of effect. Everything that's in form is effect. And if we take out the D in that little phrase cause and effect, it becomes more clear. Because what we're actually doing is causing an effect. Connect the two. The thought is the cause. That goes into law. Out comes an effect. It is mechanical. It is certain. It is mathematical. And it happens that way every single time. No exceptions. I remember a time, I was still back in North Carolina, and I don't even know where the practice started, but I remember in some of the spiritual circles that I was hanging out in, we all of a sudden developed this neat little practice where we would say something, and then we would hear it, and we would very quickly and very enthusiastically go, cancel clear, cancel clear, cancel clear. Too late. See, that yes is instantaneous. And so what I have to do is change my word. Is change my word. I think sometimes we get really confused by human time and seeing the manifestation of our word. And that's really about our focus. The law is not waiting to manifest it. The law is an instant yes. But if you think about it like a skyscraper, okay, we're on the second floor, And what we're speaking into the law shows up on the 15th floor. And we can't see it from the 2nd floor. It happened because we spoke it into the law. Our job is to move ourselves up to the 15th floor where what we spoke is. Another way to look at it, if you have cable TV, you have literally hundreds of channels. How many do you watch at a time?
At all.
One. And when you're watching that one channel, whatever it is that you're giving your attention to is all you're watching. You're not sitting there being excited about the almost walk-off home run that you know is about to happen. You're not thinking about, wonder who's winning on, this show or that show. That's not what we do. We are not even aware in that moment that we have over 900 channels because our attention is on one channel. The same thing applies to how we use the law. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean the law said no. It means we have failed to shift our focus to see it. I can tell you unequivocally that we hear and see what we expect to hear and see. I have the most real, palpable, holy, wow example of it that I can give you is when I was serving as a practitioner at a different center. Somebody came up to me after service and said, "That was the most amazing prayer. Thank you." Here's how you know we see what we expect to see or want to see. I was nowhere near the platform that day. I didn't give a prayer that day. The person who did give a prayer that day was an African American female. And for that person, it was me. Because apparently that was their focus. And how often do we do that? I have people have sent me emails thanking me for something that is in my talk. And I go, I don't remember saying that. And so I watch the video over again, front to end. I never said it. But they heard it. They experienced it because that's where they put their attention. Any of us that have ever been in a relationship, we know this place. Words are coming out of our spouse's or girlfriend's mouth or boyfriend's mouth, and we're hearing what we think they're going to say, and so we don't even hear what they actually say, and vice versa. And most of the time, if we would stop, take a breath, and actually get beyond what we're creating, what we're causing, and really listen to what was actually in the room, most of the time we're saying the same thing. Isn't that odd? Because most of us want the same thing. We want love. We want peace. Or do we? And this is where I'm going to push a little. Because you cannot have it both ways. You can say you want peace all day long. But if you are screaming for peace with vitriol and name-calling and hatred, stop lying. Stop lying. You don't want peace. You don't. You want to be right. But you don't want peace. Because peace that wants peace is peaceful. If you want peace, speak the word of peace. If you want love, speak the word of love. And if you want to heal, stop lying. Own what you really are creating. Because see, until we're willing to stand in the muck of our own consciousness and say, wow, I've been lying for a long time. I've been lying for a long time. I've been using the language of peace, and I've been hating people. I've been hating people who are not like me. I've been hating people who challenge me. Now you're at a point where you can choose. If we fail to tell the truth, make no bones about it, folks. What's on the undersurface, that big hunk of the iceberg that we refuse to see, that's what sunk the Titanic. Wasn't the little, oh look, there's an iceberg over there. That's not what sunk it. It's what they didn't see that sunk it. What is sinking the joy? What is sinking the love? What is sinking the Titanic of humanity is the stuff we refuse to look at. Here's the good news. There are no surprises. There are no surprises. You already know it's there. That's why you're working so hard to not look at it. Because you know it's there. You know it's ugly. You know it's yours. Stop lying. Just own it. Because it's already yours. Because then you can decide. I can't throw anything out of my closet without touching it. I can sit on my couch in the living room and meditate. I can picture the shirts. Be gone, shirt. Be gone, pants. Be gone, bow tie I've never worn. And guess what? When I go to my closet, there they be. Because they're mine. I got to put my hand on them and get rid of them. The deeply held beliefs in your unconscious are yours. We could take something from 12-step recovery here. They have this amazing fourth step. A searching and fearless moral inventory. Now notice, it does not say, write down what a piece of garbage I am, lay it down, turn it into muck, and waller in it. That's not what it says. It says a searching, means I gotta look, fearless. You already know what's there. You've lived it. You created it. There's no surprises. Okay? Inventory. Take stock. What is in my consciousness? What's on the shelf? Does it serve me? Is it past its expiration date? And if it is, throw it out. And if there's an empty spot on the shelf for a while, good. Because you just made space for something new. Okay? If your shelf is full, and you go to Costco and load up, where are you going to put it? Clean your shelf, then shop. Do the inventory. What is operating in your consciousness? And stop being a victim of race consciousness. And when I say race consciousness, I'm talking human race here. I'm not talking color. Okay? Every thought that's ever been thunk is in there. It's all in there. We're all swimming in the same soup. So maybe you didn't create it. And maybe you did in the truth of oneness. See, we get stuck in this land of effect and we actually start believing that we're separate from one another. Okay? In the truth of oneness, I participate in everything. Even the things that I find reprehensible. In the truth of oneness, I don't get an exception. The only way I get to excuse myself from any activity of consciousness is through this idea of separation. Stop lying. We ain't separate. And trust me, some days I want to be. And some days I want to be because of what other people are creating. And if I'm being really honest, some days I want to be separate because I don't want to impact the rest of the world with what I'm thinking. I don't want to take responsibility for how you're impacted by my garbage. And the truth of the matter is, we're all impacted. We're all swimming in the same soup. So what's the solution? Responsibility. And if we break responsibility down to the ability to respond, instead of the typical way that most of us experience responsibility is with a knee-jerk defense. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. Instead of embracing responsibility, we deflect it, we defend against it because we're perceiving it as an attack. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to know ourselves more deeply. It's an opportunity to know a part of me that lives on a different continent, but it's still a part of me in oneness. Either we live in oneness or we don't. We can't have it both ways. We can't live in oneness when it feels good and claim separation when it doesn't. One of those is a lie. I'm really certain which one the lie is. And you get to decide. Are you? Are you clear that there is only one of us here? That we are the body of the infinite. And it operates in your consciousness. And are you willing to respond to the effect? Because it's no secret what we believe. Look at your life. Look at your life. It's an effect of your consciousness. If you don't like what's showing up in your life, respond to it. Instead of reacting from it, respond to it. Trace the stem all the way down to the root. All the way down to the root. What am I really telling myself? And keep asking that. What am I really telling myself? Okay, I'm telling myself, okay. And what am I really telling myself? Until you ask that question and get no more answers. That's where your working consciousness is most powerful. We are in a lot of turmoil in this planet right now. There's so much in our social conscience that is up for examination. Are you exempting yourself? Or are you taking ownership? Because if you're exempting yourself, you're living a lie of separation. If we want to blame our ancestors, that's a lie of separation. Because in spirit, there is no time and space. That's a convenient thing that we created to exempt ourselves from shifting the cause. Our journey is one of coming home. What are we coming home to? Heaven is a state of mind. It's not a place. It's not a planet that we haven't yet discovered. It's a state of consciousness. We're coming home to truth. We're coming home to consciousness. Rumi says it this way. Our job is not to create more love, but to remove all of the barriers that we created against it. Our job is not to create more consciousness. It is to remove all of the barriers that we've created against it. Part of this creation process is house cleaning. It's removal. It's excavating the garbage that doesn't belong. Let's take this into prayer. What I know, because I feel it alive in every fiber of my being, that there is one. That this one is perfect love, perfect peace. This one is infinite intelligence. It is abundance that never ends and flows freely throughout its self. It is absolute, and it is everywhere, fully present. And in that truth, it must be fully present, active in me. All that it is, the brilliance, the compassion, the flow of abundance, whatever words that I dream up to call it, all of it is me. It is me. And all I have to do to access it is claim it, is stand in the truth of it, to excavate anything in the way of seeing the perfection of its creation. And what is true of me is true of all life, because there's only one. There's only one. And so in this moment, I claim that oneness. I claim that clarity, that singularity of focus that refuses to lie about itself, to itself, ever again. To stand in the integrity of wholeness, in the integrity of oneness, no matter what. No matter what. And as I hear it speak as me, I feel the gratitude well up. Gratitude that knows there is no waiting period. It's done. And so I am instantly grateful for what just came into being. That is the power of the Word. So I claim that gratitude, living in gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And knowing it's complete, the words are done. They're done. And so I release my word into the law, reminding my human brain that it's done. And I let it be. And I invite you to make this your own as we say together. And so it is.